is the 812th issue from the 20th of September, and it has Amy Lou Wood on the cover from Sex Education. I love that show. I can't wait for the next series, the next season. And it says, introducing your autumn TV hot list, starring Sex Education's Amy Lou Wood plus Jodie Comer's drama The New Line of Duty, and yes, Succession's almost here. So I have had a little look through this already, and I've also read some of the articles, but I'm mainly here for the sounds, and the dress is really cool. So yeah, I'm going to flick through. Maybe I'll read some. I already read that article. This is the article about Afghanistan. September style sums. The Galaxy Z Flip 3 by Samsung. That looks like an old flip phone. Kristen Stewart. She wows in Venice, and the Oscar buzz begins. I'm excited actually. I want to read about that. An article about Faye from Love Island. The top couples at the moment. The classic Britain shirt. A little sample. I don't care for skin samples. Penne pasta made from yellow peas. As Sex Education returns to our screens, Amy Lou Wood talks to Shannon Manty about fame, heartbreak, and letting yourself feel everything. The jacket that she's wearing is worth £1,420. Oh my goodness. Shall we read this? One of the last times Sex Education's Amy Lou Wood appeared on our screens as her character Amy Gibbs. She was on the back of a school bus surrounded by her girlfriends. It was the same bus she'd been too afraid to get on alone for weeks, after she was sexually assaulted on it earlier in the season. But in sharing her story with her classmates, Amy found a sense of strength and solidarity. It was a tearjerker moment, a powerful demonstration of friendship that brilliantly ended the season last January. But she didn't just get on a fucking bus and feel fine, points out Amy. I knew that they wouldn't just drop that storyline in season 3, because Sex Education is so great at all that stuff. The assault was a part of her. For those who haven't watched the Netflix teen drama, and really, where have you been? All that stuff covers every formative sexual experience, good and bad, that a young person might go through. Set in an idyllic rural high school, students take their sexual concerns to an unofficial clinic run by classmates Otis, Asa Butterfield, and Maeve, Emma Mackey. Amy opened season 1 with a no-holds-barred sex scene, although we later realised that the character often faked orgasms and didn't particularly enjoy sex. In season 2, following the advice of Otis, she goes on a journey of self-love, discovering the joys of masturbation. Then the bus incident happens and her world is shattered. I would say the new season is all about shame, says Amy, overcoming it, how it's used as a tool to have control. She can't go into much detail, but the arrival of a new headmistress, played by Gemma Kirk, best known as Chessa in Girls, sparks a huge shift within the school. Kirk's character bans makeup and jewellery, enforces a strict uniform, and makes students walk silently in single file down corridors. It's worlds away from the Moordale school that fans know and love, one that its teenage students used as a playground in which to experiment and express themselves. I think shame exists a lot within the schooling system, explains Amy. A lot of the time, teachers tell people that they're doing wrong when actually they're just being themselves. Back in 2019, Amy's character started off as an insecure hanger-on to the popular clique, but over 2 seasons she's grown in confidence, focusing less on how to fit in and more on how to be herself. It's a powerful transformation, winning the actor a BAFTA for her performance in season 2, lauded for its refreshing, frank approach to sex and the rich diversity of its cast. Sex Education has rapidly become one of Netflix's most watched shows. Like many of the cast, it was Amy's first on-screen role, and one that catapulted her to fame virtually overnight when it premiered 2 years ago. At first, I didn't deal with that very well, she says. I never thought that I was going to be in a show as big as Sex Education. It was quite a shock. She gets recognised a lot, and though most interactions are very well-meaning, it can start to feel a bit like everyone owns a part of you. Being recognised can be especially daunting, given the intimate scenes she's filmed. I was at the pub once with Simone, Ashley, who plays Olivia, and these guys on another table were shouting, "I've seen your tits." Simone's not a shrinking violet. If she thinks that someone is taking the piss out of her friend, she will go for you. She really inspires me in that way. She called them out. She turned around and said, "How pathetic are you?" It was so withering. It was the perfect way to deal with them. The cast clearly have a very tight bond, and Amy was relieved to resume filming last August, after the first lockdown. She says that prior to social distancing rules and strict bubbles, she and castmate Nukuti Gatwa, who plays Eric, would stay up until the early hours of the morning talking. She also counts Emma as one of her best friends. I love to be around people who make me feel like myself, which is really rare to find. I'm realising why, as people get older, their friendship group gets smaller and smaller because you get pickier. I can't be sitting with a group of people who I'm not actually myself around. Your time is the one thing you can't get back. Fans will know that for the first 2 seasons of Sex Education, Amy was in a real-life relationship with her brief on-screen boyfriend, Adam Gross, played by Connor Swindles. Last year they broke up, much to the dismay of fans. I remember my friend saying the most helpful thing to me once about relationships. It was about often we tried to find out who's the goodie and who's the baddie. Sometimes it's just the combination of the two of you creating some unhealthy themes. We'd had some time apart because of work, and then we realised that maybe the relationship wasn't serving us both. We still really love each other and respect each other. It was an okay breakup. It wasn't dramatic. She's enjoying being single. I felt like a dam burst. Then all of a sudden I was hurting, but I needed to be there because I'd become a bit numb, and it was nice to suddenly feel everything again. When I'm in a relationship, I find it hard to maintain my sense of self. I'm very independent, but I'm also quite impressionable. I can be taken away from myself quite easily. breakup. The run was cut short due to the pandemic, but after the first lockdown, the cast reunited a final time to record a filmed version of the show. The play ends with a powerful monologue delivered by Amy's character Sonia, and the sense of isolation that came from lockdown, having no audience members, and from her recent heartbreak helped her deliver her best rendition ever. It annoyed me because I hate it when people go, "Art is pain and you've got to be in pain." I don't believe that is true. I don't think you should ever put yourself through heartache or stress because you think it's going to make you a better actor. However, it's what Glennon Doyle talks about in her book Untamed. I had the ache. We're all quite afraid of the ache, but it's always there. We distract ourselves from it. We go about our business and we don't look into the ache part of our lives, which is where all the deep stuff is. Our emotion and yearnings and all of that stuff. But then when you do go in, you come to realise that there's nothing to be afraid of, because even though you might sob, even though it might hurt really bad, you still need to go there. Amy may only be 26, but she's full of wisdom and honesty, which she credits to spending time with people who make her feel good. Therapy. It's like playing emotional detective and understanding why we are the way we are, and never compromising my integrity or stifling my own expression. We all need to express ourselves, but a lot of the time, you turn inward and you actually implode rather than explode, she says. Some people explode, some people implode. I'm such a little masochistic imploder. Nowadays, she makes looking after herself a priority. I think you can look at the past and know why something happened, but you can't change any of that. It's how the stories have been written. What you can do is continue to write it. And so I always ask myself, how do you want to write the rest of your story? Next up, Amy has a small part in the electrical life of Lou Wayne, with Benedict Cumberbatch and Claire Foy, before she plays the lead in Living, an adaptation of Kazuo Ishiguro's Ikuru alongside Bill Nye. It was amazing, she says, and it was so nice to have time, because with TV there's so much adrenaline. You've got to get the scene done in 5 minutes, whereas there were instances on Living where me and Bill would do a scene 19 times. I love that, because it's more like theatre. You're going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. When it comes to Amy's story, there's still a lot to be written, but from where we're sitting, it's certainly shaping up to be a page turner. So here's some different things that are coming to TV, film and music and theatre actually as well. Sorry, I had to adjust because I'm lying down and my back's in a really awkward position. We have the new parenting divide. That's the lady from Motherland. I love that show. The Daughters of 9/11. That would actually be really interesting to read. So it says, with the Daughters of 9/11, 2 decades after the terror attacks on the World Trade Center, Katrine Hard talks to the women who've grown up in its shadow. 20 years ago, on September 11th, 2001, 2,977 people were killed in the deadliest terror attacks in US history, while 2 planes hijacked by the militant Islamic group Al-Qaeda plowed into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York. A third plane plunged into the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. A 4th plane, thought to be heading for the US Capitol, ended up crashing into the Pennsylvania countryside. It was a day that shocked not just a nation, but an entire world, as millions watched events unfold on live TV. Today, still being felt, as demonstrated by the chaos in Afghanistan that has followed the decision to withdraw American troops by the 20th anniversary of 9/11, the original trigger for the US invasion of the country. But for some, the 20-year milestone is more personal. An estimated 3,051 children lost a parent in the attacks, and in the months to follow, 109 babies were born to fathers who had perished. Known as Generation 9/11, they have few memories of their lost parents, or never got a chance to meet them, which means that now, adults themselves, marking the 20th anniversary feels even more significant. Jessica Wisniewski, the 26, was just 6 when her father, Alan, 47, an associate director of the Sandler O'Neill investment banking firm, died in the South Tower of the World Trade Center. On that morning, she recalls her grandparents taking her and her sister Erica, now 35, and her brother Matthew, 24, out of school. It wasn't until a week later that their mum explained their father wasn't coming home. Still, she didn't understand at first that she'd never see him again. Now a law student at Fordham University in New York, Jessica says the pain of losing a parent is something you learn to live with. For the first 10 years, we'd go to the memorial, and in 2003, aged 8, I remember reading aloud my dad's name during the ceremony and standing in what was essentially a dirt pit, as the memorial was still under construction, and it made things very real for me, she says. I couldn't open up about how I felt. But then, aged 16, I started talking to other kids through Tuesday's Children, a non-profit organisation dedicated to helping the families of 9/11 victims, and their project Common Bond. Thanks to counselling, I learned to focus on the happy memories, like what a big football fan my dad was, or since he worked long hours, how excited I was trying to stay up late to see him before going to bed, and to appreciate his life rather than dwell on the loss. Anna Houston, 20, was 20 months old when she lost her father, Uhuru Houston, 32, who worked with the Port Authority Police Department, now a student at St. John's University in New York. She says the earliest memory she has is crawling towards her dad. I found out through stories how affectionate and funny he was, she says. Each year, on the anniversary, my mum, aunts, cousin and my brother, Hassani, 24, get together, and 90% of the time we're laughing about something he did, while for the remaining 10% we're grieving. I always knew my dad's death was tragic, but it wasn't until I learned about 9/11 in school that I understood the magnitude of what had happened. It wasn't just me who'd been affected, she explains. Although growing up it was normal for me not to have a dad, it's hit me now that I don't have one to share my milestone moments with, and I need to process that. So 2 years ago I started therapy. Now she has found ways to make him a part of her life today. I have a black t-shirt with a yellow smiling sun that my father wore, which my mum had made into a pillow. I kept it on my bed as it's something tangible that gives me his energy. Last January, I had his birthday tattooed to my wrist so that I can feel his presence, she adds. It's important that we never forget 9/11 as the ramifications are palpable. I mean, 20 years on, I still don't have a dad. Sadly, some among Generation 9/11 have no memories of their parent to treasure, so have found other ways to connect. Claudia Zurkowski, 19, was not yet born when her father, Norbert, 31, lost his life in the North Tower of the World Trade Center while working for a wallpaper company. Today, Claudia is a student at Florida Southwestern State College. When I was 6, I remember going to the memorial, walking in a long line towards the 2 pools that mark the sites of the Twin Towers and throwing a rose into the one associated with my father's name, she remembers. I was never told about the event, but as I got older, I pieced things together. It made me angry because my dad just happened to be working one of the offices that morning, but my reason. Of course, she struggles with her loss. I've been branded a 9/11 kid, which is hard because it doesn't define who I am. I don't want to be pitied. I'm grateful to my mum and sister, Alexandra, 23, for answering all the questions I've had about my father. It's helped me get a better understanding of who he was. When I heard he was outgoing, it made me want to be outgoing too. My dad picked my name, so to know that he knew my name before he died gives me relief. We also have the same facial features and stocky build, which I like, because when I look in the mirror, I see him reflected back at me. Every day I look at his photos and talk to him as I believe he's listening. This year, like so many of those who lost someone in the attacks, Claudia will be marking the anniversary with the rest of her family. September 11 is a day wrought with emotion, and I spend it with my mum and sister. We'll go to the memorial and listen to the names of those killed being read out on TV and make the day all about my father. Despite the fact that it's been 2 decades, people should know it still affects us deeply. It's essential that I do all I can to keep his spirit alive. So, there you go. That will be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the bits of reading that I did. If you'd like me to read more from a magazine or do strictly just page sounds, then please let me know. If you have any requests, please let me know down in